So, what if your brain doesn't actually create your thoughts? I mean, what if it's more like a radio, just tuning into a signal that's already out there, coming from the universe itself? Today, we're going to dive into this really wild idea, this thought experiment that connects two of the biggest mysteries out there, consciousness and dreams.
Okay, let's kick things off with a story that's, well, it's pretty hard to explain away. Picture this. It's 2006. A man in China is in a deep coma. His brain activity has totally flatlined during surgery. I mean, by every medical definition, he is completely unconscious. But then, he wakes up, and he describes the surgeon's face, what he was wearing, in perfect detail. He even names the surgical tools they used on him, tools he had never seen before in his life. So the question is, how on earth is that possible?
And believe it or not, this isn't some one-off thing. There are thousands of these reports, people having near-death experiences, seeing and hearing things even when their brains show zero signs of life. Now, of course, mainstream science has some explanations, right? They'll talk about oxygen deprivation or a big rush of endorphins. And sure, that might explain some of it. But for a story like the one we just heard, those explanations kind of fall flat. These accounts, they really shake up a core belief in neuroscience that your mind is just what your brain does. Because if the brain is turned off, then where does the mind go?
And this, right here, is what philosophers and scientists call the hard problem of consciousness. Look, we can map all the electrical zaps and chemical reactions in the brain. That's the so-called easy part. But what we absolutely cannot explain is how all that stuff creates the feeling of seeing the color red, or the experience of hearing a song that moves you. You know, the actual feeling of being you? It's a massive puzzle, and it's pushed some people to think way, way outside the box.
So, what's this radical, out-of-the-box idea? Well, it flips the whole problem upside down. Instead of asking, how does the brain create consciousness, it asks a different question altogether. What if it doesn't? What if consciousness is just everywhere, all around us, and our brains are just built to tune into it?
This idea, this theory, totally changes how we think about the brain. Suddenly, it's not a generator anymore, it's more like a really complex biological antenna. Its whole job is to pick up a signal that's already being broadcast, a sort of cosmic consciousness. Now, let's be clear, this is a thought experiment, right? This isn't settled science, but wow, it opens up some seriously fascinating doors.
And the radio analogy is just perfect for this. I mean, think about it. If you take a radio and you smash it with a hammer, the music stops, right? But you haven't destroyed the radio station. The broadcast signal is still out there, flying through the air, completely independent of that broken receiver. So what if our brains are the same? If the brain gets damaged, our personal experience of the music might stop, but the broadcast, the signal of consciousness itself, it just keeps on going.
Okay, so if we run with this idea for a minute, could it actually explain some of the weirdest stuff out there? Like what about savants who can play a piano concerto perfectly without ever taking a lesson? Maybe they're just tuned to a much clearer channel than the rest of us. Or the Mandela Effect, where thousands of people remember the exact same thing that never actually happened. Could that be a glitch in the cosmic broadcast? And what about Carl Jung's whole idea of a collective unconscious, these shared myths and symbols that pop up in ancient cultures that were totally isolated from each other? Is that evidence of a single, shared signal we're all tapping into? And then you've got minds like Nikola Tesla. This is a guy who claimed he didn't need blueprints. He could build, test, and find every single flaw in a complex machine, entirely inside his own head. He'd perfected in his mind before he even touched a single tool. Now, was that just an unbelievably brilliant brain at work? Or could it be what this thought experiment is getting at, that he was a person with an exquisitely tuned receiver, literally downloading blueprints from the universe? But here's a twist. What if the best evidence for this whole cosmic broadcast thing isn't out there at all? What if it's actually inside our own heads? What if the biggest clue is hiding in that mysterious world we all visit every single night when we fall asleep and dream? Think about this for a second. Over a lifetime, we spend about 6 full years dreaming. 6 years! And yet, 95% of that incredible world just evaporates within minutes of waking up. It's this huge part of our lives. And for science, it's still one of the biggest question marks there is.
For the longest time, people just dismissed dreams as random, meaningless nonsense. But now we know that's not true at all. They're a really important biological process. I mean, the discovery of REM sleep proved they have structure. They actually help us solve problems.
There's the famous story of the chemist Kekulé, who figured out the ring structure of benzene after dreaming about a snake eating its own tail. And get this, a Harvard study found that students who dreamed about a maze they were trying to solve got through it 10 times better than those who just thought about it while they were awake. It's like our dreams are some kind of secret training ground.
So the big question is, why? Why did we evolve this ability to dream? Well, science is pretty much split down the middle on this. On one hand, you have the survival simulator theory. The idea is that dreams are like a virtual reality training program. Our brain runs us through stressful situations, being chased, falling, failing a test, so we can practice how to react without any of the real-world risk. On the other hand, there's a much more boring explanation. The dreams are just noise. They're a byproduct of the brain doing its nightly cleanup, sorting through memories. And all those random electrical signals get stitched together into a story, which is why dreams can be so weird and nonsensical.
Okay, so let's try to connect the dots here. We've got these two huge mysteries, right? First, this idea of a universal consciousness that our brains are receiving like a radio. And second, this incredibly powerful, bizarre inner world of dreams that we can't even remember most of the time. So, what if they're connected? So let's go back to that question. Why do we forget our dreams? Well, maybe it's not a flaw in the system. Maybe it's a feature. Seriously, imagine if you remembered every single dream with the same clarity as you remember what you had for breakfast. How could you ever tell the difference between what was real and what wasn't? Forgetting our dreams might actually be a critical safety mechanism, like a firewall that protects our sanity and stops our real-life memories from being scrambled by the infinite possibilities of the dream world.
This idea really changes everything. It's not about some outside force controlling us like puppets. It's more like a partnership, a symbiotic relationship. Maybe this huge, universal consciousness needs little receivers like our brains to experience the universe in a personal way, to feel joy, to fall in love, to make a new discovery. And at the same time, we need that signal for our moments of genius, for our creativity, for those flashes of inspiration. It's like we're evolving together, the cosmos and us.
But, and this is a big but, this whole idea leads to a really profound and honestly kind of unsettling question. If your greatest inspirations, your deepest feelings, your most brilliant ideas are just signals that you're picking up, then what does that say about free will? Are your choices really your choices? How much of the person you call you is actually you?
It's a beautiful way to think about it, though. It reframes our whole existence. Our individual consciousness isn't some lonely, isolated spark. It's a crucial piece of a much, much bigger cosmic puzzle. It's as if every life, every thought, every single dream is another way for the universe to learn about itself, through our eyes.
And that leaves us with one last truly mind-bending thought to chew on. If we really are receivers, or maybe even programs running on biological hardware, then who or what is the programmer? What is the nature of the source? What is this cosmic consciousness that's broadcasting all of existence? And maybe the biggest question of all, does it feel? Does it wonder? Does it dream, just like we do?
Health is the most precious gift. If this video helped you or someone you love, please like, subscribe, and share so more families can stay safe and healthy.